There's something very special about Pesach that separates it really from all of the other Yomim Tovim, and that is that on Pesach, the details really do make a difference. And the way we know that the details make a very big difference is because we watch ourselves cleaning, we watch ourselves preparing, and little things mean a lot to us. If it's not just right, what we would ordinarily look over may not be acceptable on Pesach. We know that the difference between chametz and matzah is a split second. Because if you leave those matzahs before baking them for one split second, boom, it's chametz. It's interesting because in the general world, that's something that the secular world can't seem to tolerate about the Orthodox or about the Haredi. Is that, come on, what's the difference if it's just below the knee or a drop above? And what's the difference if you're going to separate the bad from the good or the good from the bad on Shabbos? And what, I mean, you're making such a big deal about, just about warming up the food, and is it moist or is it details? And it's interesting because somebody once challenged one of the Rosh Hashivas, I think it must have been in Nar Sameach, about this point. They're trying to be Makar people, and they says, come on, the details. He says, something, I'd like to have a lengthy conversation with you about it, and perhaps we'll have a dialogue. Give me your email address, and I'll send you. We'll have a conversation, and we'll talk about it. Sure enough, a week later he meets this fellow, and he says to him, so what did you think about what I said? He says, what do you mean? You said you were going to email me, Rabbi, and you didn't even send me the email. He says, I did too. I sent you a very long email. In fact, I sent 1, 2, 3, 4 emails to you. He says, yeah, what address did you send it to? He said, I sent it to J. Goldstein at Yahoo.com. He says, that's not my address. He says, what do you mean? He says, that's what the address you told me. You told me, J. Goldstein at Yahoo.com. No. He says, you made a mistake, Rabbi. What do you mean you made a mistake? It's not what I told you. I said, it's J. Goldstein at Yahoo.com. So he said to him, oh, really? He said, well, come on, it's just a dot. I mean, so worried about the detail. I mean, just a dot. What's the difference whether there's a dot there or not a dot there? He says, what do you mean? Without the dot, it just doesn't go. He says, but isn't that what we're debating? Do the details make a difference, or don't the details make a difference? It's only a dot. So when it's convenient for us, the dot makes a mistake, it makes a difference. But when it's not so convenient, good from the bad, bad from the good. And that's what Pesach is all about. Because the difference between chametz and matzah, the Chazal say, the letters are the same. Did you know that? Ches, mem, tzadi. And what about and matzah? What's matzah? Hey, mem, tzadi. Mem, tzadi, hey. Same letters. But what's the difference? The difference is whether the ches and the hey, if you take the foot of the hey, of the matzah, and you move it up a little bit, if it's not touching, it's matzah. The second it touches, that little dot there, boom, it's puzzle. And that's really what Yetzias Mitzrayim was all about. We say that if HaKadosh Baruch Hu would not have taken us out from Mitzrayim at that moment, Harei anu, uvaneinu, uvnei baneinu, v'shabadam hayinu l'far b'Mitzrayim. We would have been stuck, we would have fallen into the abyss, and we would never have been able to pull out. So it is all about the details. And as I mentioned, Pesach is the opportunity for chinuch and for education and for parenting on the highest level of any time of the year. And I went into the 4th grade classroom. We were learning about the Haggadah. And I said to the boys, they had their Haggadahs on their desk, and they're learning all about Hanishtana, questions and learning about Pesach, Matzah, and Maror. And I write on the blackboard, why is this night different than all other nights? What's the difference? There's a mitzvah every single day of the year to speak about Yetzias Mitzrayim. L'man tizkar es yom tzischa me'eretz Mitzrayim kol yemei chayecha. There's a mitzvah each and every day to speak about the Bnei Yisrael and their exodus from Egypt. So why is this night different than any other night? In what way are the mitzvahs of Pesach and the Seder different than the mitzvah to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim every single day? And this question lies the most fundamental methodology of teaching. We have some teachers here. I mean, every single one of us here is a teacher, because if you have children, you're a teacher, and if you have students, you're a teacher, and if you have friends, you're a teacher. But according to the Rambam, and this is the way that Reb Chaim Brisker explains it, there are three very, very major fundamentals that are integral for the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim on Pesach that do not apply each and every day of the year. I remember that when I went for courses to get my certification to be a teacher, so one of the instructors told us that the key and the fundamental component of a lesson is to get the children to think. In fact, I remember that my Zayda, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, whose yahrzeit is today, Rabbi Zvi Kamenetsky, Rabbi Yaakov ben Rabbi Binyamin, Chavtes Adar, today is his yahrzeit, 23rd yahrzeit. So I remember my Zayda saying, why was a person put into this world? What is our purpose? Everyone has a different teretz to this kasha, and obviously there are many terutzim, but I posed this question to my class at the beginning of the year. I used to do it when I was teaching high school. I say, boys, today's the first day of school. I want you to tell me what is the reason why we're here. To serve Hashem, to do mitzvos, to get Olam Haba. Nope. And they would bother me each and every day. And I said, Rebbe, what's the answer? I said, you have to tell me the answer. Okay, let me think about it. And you know what happened? By the time the last day of school came, I said, you want to know what it is? You've been doing it all year. The tachlis von a mensch is zu denken. It's to think. It's not to be fed information and be told what to do, but it's to think and to be able to, on your own, analyze, determine, and establish a course for yourself, a course of life, and an approach to everything that you will do. And I remember this instructor telling us that the most effective way to walk into a classroom and to begin your lesson is with the words, I'd like you all to imagine the following. Or can anybody tell me why? Or to say, is there a reason for X? Because the moment that happens, you've engaged the student to use the process of their thinking in order to determine, in order to learn. And that's the first difference between this night and all other nights. And that is that the way we teach on Pesach night is through the method of she'ela u'teshuva, questions and answers. And that is very clearly hinted in the pasuk, because the pasuk says, "V'haya ki yish'alcha bincha machar le'mar mazos." So apparently, the Torah is telling you that on that day, which is the Pesach Seder, ki yish'alcha, motivate the child to ask a question, because by asking the question, and the question's bothering him, then you know what happens? The child will retain it much longer. The story is told with Rabbi Zvi Kamenetsky. He was a very, very wealthy Talmud Chacham, and he had a daughter who was outstanding. She was amazing. She was ala milas, as they would say, top catch. And he wanted the finest Talmud Chacham for her, for a shidduch. And he himself was an Eli, he was really a genius of the Talmud Chacham. So he decided he's going to pose a question, a Torah question, and go from yeshiva to yeshiva and find the boy that can answer this question, and that would be the chassan for his daughter. He went from yeshiva to yeshiva, and he just was depressed because no bacher was able to come up with the teretz. So finally he came to one yeshiva, he put the sign up, the Beis Medrash, anyone that can answer this shaila is going to have my daughter, and nobody knew the answer. And again, he was about to leave, and he got into his chariot, and he got into his coach, and he was about to leave, and all of a sudden a bacher comes running. Rebbe, wait, please stop the coach. Very fancy, beautiful coach. And he's told the driver, stop. And he opens up the door, and he says, bacher, you have the teretz of the kasha? And he says, no, Rebbe, I don't have the teretz of the kasha. But what is the teretz of the kasha? You're going to leave and not tell me the answer? I need to know the answer. So I'm not going to have his daughter because I don't know the answer, but at least I'll know the answer. I want to know what's bothering you. I've been working on this kasha for 3 days. He says, you're the one I'm looking for. Because the question motivated you to think, and the question charged your intellect to say, I want to know the answer. So Dr. Chaim, that's number one. Derech she'ela u'tshuva. The second way that Pesach night is different is that it needs to be done in a sequence of events. It's called Hishtalshelus Hadvarim. That in order to be able to speak about Yetzias Mitzrayim, you have to start from the beginning. And every single one of us could prove this true as one of the most valuable teaching tools. Because how? If we want to talk about Yetzias Mitzrayim, all we have to say is, Ani Hashem Elokechem asher hotzeichi escha me'eretz Mitzrayim. When you say those words, I am Hashem your God that took you out of Eretz Mitzrayim, which is in the Parsha of Tzitzis, said every single day, morning and evening, you're Mekayim your mitzvah, the daily mitzvah. But in order to be Mekayim the mitzvah on Pesach night, we have to start from the beginning of the story. Either we start from Avodim Ohinu, L'Faro b'Mitzrayim, and then it goes to Vayotzienu, that we were servants to Paro and Mitzrayim. Hashem took us out and brought us through the desert, gave us the Torah, and brought us to Eretz Yisrael, and we built the Beis HaMikdash. And the other man, the Amr says that it starts all the way from Terach. Mitchila Ovdei Avodah Zarah Hayu Avoseinu. Tell me something. Does each and every one of us know that that's the best way to tell a story? Prove it. How does any story begin? Once upon a time. And how does every story end?
Yeah.
And they live happily ever after. Why is it like that? Why do they want to hear the story from the beginning? Because that's the most effective way. When you tell it systematically, you start from the beginning, that's the way you have to say over the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And the third method, okay, so far we've employed 2 methods. Now this is in the Torah. This is not coming from Madeline Hunter, who I happen to have always used as my model of teaching methodology and teaching to the task and task analysis and Bloom's taxonomy. Mrs. Goldstein understands me, okay? And which particular method of learning are you employing in order to teach this lesson? Is patterns, numbers, the pattern fair, and I really admire. I feel so comfortable because I'm speaking to teachers here, and every single one of you has that. But Baruch Hashem, I'm experiencing this firsthand this year from my Moshe. But there's a third way. And the third way is Ta'amei HaMitzvos. That we need to take each one of the themes of the Pesach Seder, and we have to give a hands-on, thematic, experiential approach. No sales pitch for the TTT here, but that's just the way Mrs. Rubinoff does it, and you can see how effective it is. Rabbi Gamliel Omer, Kol shelo omar shlosh dvarim elu b'Pesach, lo yatsa yedei chaverso. Rabbi Gamliel said, If we don't specifically address these three particulars, you're not makayim the mitzvah tonight. Pesach, matzah, and maror. And then we start with Pesach. Why is there a carbon Pesach? Why? Because Hashem, Pesach, He jumped over the Jewish houses. And when it comes to matzah, matzah zu, shanu ochlam al shumma. Why are we eating the matzah? And there you have it. Hands-on. There's a ka'ara. There's a Seder plate. There's no better way to teach a child about government in Canada than taking them to Queen's Park. There's no better way to teach manufacturing than to take the children to Grodzinski's bakery or any other bakery and show them the process. That's hands-on. Hands-on and being able to have a tangible example is something that plants that memory in the minds of the children, and it's everlasting. And in that way, it really, really sticks with the children. And the whole Pesach Seder, the whole Pesach experience becomes a parenting session from beginning to end. A month long, depending when you start cleaning, I guess. But could you imagine if you speak to the children about what chametz is? What's chametz? What's the difference between chametz and matzah? Do you know what chametz means? Nowadays, for sure, we know it, because if you come to the airport 59 minutes before your flight, boom, cutoff point, you can't check in. Good way to explain it, right? 1 minute and you blew it. And that's something we need to teach our children. Why are we making such a big deal with the toothpick between the balatas, between the tiles? It was last week's share. Why are we making such a big deal about it? You know why? Because the details make a difference, my child. I love you no matter what. But it's very important to realize that every single thing makes a difference. There's no such thing as sticks and stones will break my bones and names will never harm me. I just said one little thing. One little thing could change a person's feelings about themselves. One I love you to a child, one I love you to a mom, to a dad, to a spouse, to a grandparent, one phone call on a Shabbos, it's just a phone call, it's a detail. And that's what you could say every time B'dikas Chametz becomes such an issue. B'dikas Chametz is 10 pieces of bread, and when you find that bread, Chametz! I remember Rabbi Kramer, who was one of my mentors in Chinuch. He was the manal of the Prospect Park Yeshiva in Brooklyn for eons of years, and really a mechanech par excellence. And he used to say something very profound. You went to Prospect?
No, but I know this.
And Yoel Kramer used to say that he used to call it SST. This is in classroom management. It's called sensitivity shtick training. He says every parent, every teacher needs shtick. You need to have something that you're known for, that they'll remember you for. And every parent needs to know that. We need to know that as parents, that we have the right to be shtickmachers. There's no such thing as a parent, even if it's just the way we say Tehillim, even if it's just picking them up and carrying them in a certain way, and this is the way mommy carries me. This is what Dad Abba does at the Shabbos table. If we decide this year we're going to make little broccoli muffins in the shape of frogs. That was my mother's shtick. She used to make it for the Seder, little broccoli thing. This will be a recipe in this week's Mother's Corner. Okay? But you know something? Find yourself a shtick that's going to cause the child, cause our children to say, I always remember my mother doing this. Because every one of us could probably say that about our Bubby. My Bubby used to, and I'll talk about my grandmother. It was Zeta's yahrzeit today. I mean, my grandmother was known that on Pesach, the Bachram and Tarvadas didn't go home. And there was no such thing as, fly back home, come back. He went to yeshiva, he stayed in yeshiva for a year, but there were some Sephardi boys in yeshiva, and some Hasidic boys in yeshiva, and then there were some Taimani boys in yeshiva, and then there were some Americans. So she used to have 5, 6 different pots on the stove for each different type of minhag. So she had her rice stuff, and then she had her knedlach yesgebrocks, and then she had the potato knedlach for the non-gebrocks, and then the thick matzah and the thin matzah. And that's what you remember you remember your bubby for. Remember, my Zaidi was such a masmid that when my grandmother was nifter, they weren't able to give the pots and pans and dishes and silverware to the children. Why? Because the children were out of the house already, and my grandfather didn't know which was the milchiks and which was the fleishiks. I'm not advocating that your husband should never wash the dishes. I'm not trying that. Okay? Please don't learn from me. We have, Baruch Hashem, we have. But think about that. We are at a stage that we have the right to be a mother who they'll always remember because of the way I prepared for Pesach. Was it a craziness? Was it a mishikas? Was it never with a bad temper? But I'm going to teach you how to clean your drawer. Let's do it together. We'll make an activity out of it. Hide something in there that they really would like. Say, you know something? Let's look for chametz. Find their little MP3 player, or their Gedolim card, or their Girsa Chumash, or their little remote control car, and say, if you could find it, it's yours. Think of a shtick and make Pesach into a learning experience. Ultimately, and this is just my favorite thing about Pesach, is that we have a new chiyuv on the Pesach Seder night. And the Pesach Seder night is a mitzvah of Chayil Adam Liros es Atzmo Ki'ilu Hu Yatsa Mitzrayim. A person on the night of Pesach has to be able to reenact the Exodus, reenact the Yetziah, as if a mamish going out of Mitzrayim.